everyone. I hope you all are doing well. I am Ritu and welcome to the Target UPSC Prelim series of Drishti IAS, and today's session is about art and culture. We already had done two sessions on art and culture and this is the third episode of art and culture. So moving towards the first topic of today's session, which is of Konark Temple. So why this particular temple is in news? Because Konark Sun Temple has been, the replica of this particular temple has been displayed at the G20 summit, and you must have seen a picture where Prime Minister Narendra Modi was greeting to the guests who have arrived to the India. The background picture was this. So that's why this topic came into the news, and here we'll have discussion about that, what is the Konark Temple and where it is located. So it is a 13th century Sun Temple in Konark, located on the sea coast of the Puri district of Odisha, and it has been made in the around 1250, which is a 13th century, and under whose kingdom this particular temple has been made. So the king was Narsimhadev, one of the Eastern Ganga dynasty. So the dynasty was Ganga and the king name is Narsimhadev I. So this is the brief history of the Konark Sun Temple. Here comes to the features. So this particular temple is dedicated to the god Surya, which is sun, and this temple looks like a 100-foot high chariot with the huge wheels and horses, all made of stone. And it is also regarded, and it has also got the status of UNESCO World Heritage Site. And what we have seen, that on the 10 rupees note we can see the picture of the Konark Temple, and it shows the pinnacle of Kalinga temple architecture, and it is also known as Black Pagoda. And why it is known as Black Pagoda? Because this particular term has become popular in the British India around 17th century, and when British saw a tower and also the connectedness between the huge tower and appeared like black due to its black color of stone, and this particular temple has been made of the black stone, so that's why it is called as a Black Pagoda. And which temple is called as White Pagoda? So Jagannath Temple of Puri is called as a White Pagoda. So this is a brief about this particular temple. Then we have "64 Yogini", and Hindi we also called it as Chaussat Yogini Temple. So here we'll have a discussion on Chaussat Yogini Temple. So it is believed that old Indian Parliament building was designed and it is inspired from the Chaussat Yogini Temple. And why this particular thing is into the discussion? Because recently the India has got a new building for the Parliament, so we must know the art and architecture of the earlier structure of the Parliament also. So about the Chaussat Yogini Temple, so it is located in the Madhya Pradesh, in the Morena district of Madhya Pradesh. And who was the king who made this temple? So King Devpal of Kachpaghat dynasty. So here the king is Devpal and the dynasty is Kachpaghat dynasty, and it was a place to impart education in astrology and mathematics based on the transit of the sun, and the temple is circular in architecture. So this is the architecture. Then we'll have a different features. So it has 64 chambers, so that's of 64 yoginis. So that's why it is called as a Chaussat Yogini temple. And what would be the history of old Parliament House? So who has designed the old Parliament House, which has currently become old, but since 1 year back it was the only Parliament House, and then it was designed by Edwin Lutyens and Herbert Baker. So that's why the surrounding area related to the Parliament building is known as the Lutyens Delhi, and it has been constructed between 1921 to 1927. And who has inaugurated the old Parliament building? So at that time in 1927, the Viceroy Lord Irwin has inaugurated this particular building. So this is the brief about the Lutyens Delhi and the old Parliament building structure. Then we come to the next one, which is Meri Mati Mera Desh campaign. And on the occasion of 75 years of independence of this country, the country has launched Meri Mati Mera Desh campaign. And what this particular Meri Mati Mera Desh campaign is about, that from different regions of the country the soils will be brought, and with the help of that soil the plantation would happen. and they will plant it across the streets and across the roads of Delhi. So this is called as Meri Mati Mera Desh Abhiyan. And we have other features also. The other things will be planted, just like there will be a memorial plaque. And what is this memorial plaque about? So its name is Shilpa Khalam, with the names of brave men who made the supreme sacrifice to be installed. And there will be also Vasudha Vandhan, 75 saplings of native species will be planted in every Gram Panchayats. And also Vayor Ka Vandan will be organized to honor the freedom fighters. So these are the parts of the Meri Mati Mera Desh campaign. Then coming to the next one is about Shanti Niketan, India's 41st World Heritage Site. So the Konark Temple is also UNESCO World Heritage Site, and here Shanti Niketan is also 41st World Heritage Site of the country. And why this particular thing is news? Because recently it got the UNESCO status and it has become the 41st World Heritage Site. And reasons for the popularity of the Shanti Niketan, because in the year 1862, the father of Rabindranath Tagore, Devendranath Tagore, had decided that he will build Shanti Niketan, and the ashram is called as a Shanti Niketan, so which means abode or peace, as the name suggests. Later, part of this Shanti Niketan also converted to the Vishwa Bharati University, because Rabindranath Tagore wanted to open a school for Brahmacharya school of thought. So in 1901, Rabindranath Tagore selected a significant portion of land and established a school based on Brahmacharya ashram, which is presently known as Vishwa Bharati University. So this is the picture of Shanti Niketan, and it is still important from the architecture point of view, also from the what you can say education point of view. Then we have Hoysala Temple, 42nd World Heritage Site of India, because in the last session we had discussed about the Shanti Niketan, which has become the 41st World Heritage Site, and now Hoysala Temple has become the 42nd World Heritage Site of India. And why this thing is news? Because recently it got the UNESCO status. And what are the key facts about the Hoysala Temple? So Chenakeshwar Temple in Belur. So there are different parts among this Hoysala Temple. And who has built this Chenakeshwar Temple in Beluru? So it was built by Hoysala king Vishnuvardhan in 1116 AD to commemorate his victory over the Cholas. So this point is very much important, that this particular Chenakeshwar Temple has been built because the king wants to show their grandeur in form of temple, because they have won the Cholas. Then we have another one is about what is Beluri known for. So Beluru is known for Vellore, and in ancient times it is located banks of the Yakshi river, and it is a star-shaped temple dedicated to the Lord Vishnu. So here you must know that Belur temple belongs to, and it is dedicated to Lord Vishnu. Then we have Hoshaleshwar temple in Halabid, and the two shrine temple is probably the largest Shiva temple built by the Hoysal. And the sculpture here depicts the various aspects of the Shaiva tradition. In South India, majorly in South India and in the Deccan, there were the two schools which were very famous. The one is the Vaishnava school of thought, and the other is the Shaiva school of thought. And there were the two communities, one is the Alwar and another is the Nainar. So Alwar used to worship the Vaishnavite tradition Vishnu, and the Nainar used to worship the Saivite tradition, which is the Shiv. So this is the both tradition of the South India, and especially it is present in the Deccan India also. So as I already have told you that there is another one which is Keshav Temple of Somnathpur, and it is a beautiful Trikut temple dedicated to the threefold of the three forms of the Lord Krishna. And what are the three forms of Lord Krishna? The first is Janardhan, the second is Keshav, and third is the Venugopal. So this particular Keshav temple of Somnath is dedicated to three forms of Krishna. And what are the key facts about the Hoysala architecture? Because it is a blend of Bhumij style prevalent in central India. It can also show the mixture of Vesara and Nagra style. So this is the feature of a particular temple. Then we come to the Hoysala dynasty. So Hoysala ruled vast areas as far as Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, the present Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, for 3 centuries, with Sala serving as the founder of the dynasty. So it is very easy to remember that who is the founder of Hoysala dynasty. So it is just Sala. So Sala is the founder of this particular dynasty, and the first king came from the hills of northwest of Dwar Samudra, and Hoysala were feudatories of the Chalukyas of Kalyan, also known as Western Chalukya. And the most notable rulers of the Hoysala dynasty were Vishnuvardhan, Veer Ballala II and Veer Ballala III. And this particular century is the blend and representative of the Hinduism, Jainism and Buddhism. So this is the brief about Hoysala dynasty. Then we come to the next one. Next one is about statue of Adi Shankaracharya. So recently in Madhya Pradesh, 108 feet of statue of Adi Shankaracharya has been installed on the Mandhat Mount unveiled, which what it represents. So it represents the oneness, and it also belongs to the Advait school. There are different schools, there are different schools of philosophy, but this particular thing belongs to the Advait philosophy. And what are the importance of Mandhat? So Mandhat island situated on the Narmada river on 12 Jyotirlingas, 2 Jyotirlinga, first Omkareshwar situated on the south, and it is also representative of the Shaivite and Vaishnavite tradition and the Jains of the 14th to 18th century. So this is about the Adi Shankaracharya. Here is a picture of Adi Shankaracharya, and he advocated the philosophy of Advaita. Then we come to the another points related to Adi Shankaracharya. Why a particular place is called as Omkareshwar? Because the shape of the island is Om in nature. So it is presumed that it is Om in nature. So that's why it is called as a Omkareshwar. Then coming to the Adi Shankaracharya. So he is known as Adi Shankar, who was born into the 8th century, and he was born in Kaladi near Kochi, Kerala. He took Samadhi at the Kedar at the age of 33, and he was devotee of Shiva. And it is said that reached Omkareshwar as a young monk. So when he reached Omkareshwar, he was very young monk, and he attained his philosophy and his knowledge at the age of 33 at Kedarnath. So this is a brief about Adi Shankaracharya. Then we come to the major scriptures written by Adi Shankaracharya. Brahmastra Bhashya. In short, it is called as Brahm Sutra, and it is a commentary on the Brahm Sutra, and also Bhaj Govind Strot, Nirvana Shaktakampra, Karan Granth. And here we will know about the Advait philosophy, Advait Vedanta, and it articulates a philosophical position of radical monism. So here you must know that Advait is monism. So just remember like that, ADMO. So you can make a code word about these things. Then coming to the next one. Next one is about Allah Baksh and Mewari style of painting. And why this particular Allah Baksh of Mewari style in painting is into the discussion, because Allah Baksh of the late 17th century is depicted the interpretation of Mahabharata in painting, and also known as its complex and insightful representation. So this is the Allah Baksh, a particular kind of painting. And who was the Allah Baksh? Allah Baksh Maharaja of Udaipur in the late 17th century was a court painter appointed by the Jai Singh. So Allah Baksh was a painter who has been appointed as a court painter at the court of the then ruler Jai Singh. So this is the painting, and they used to depict Mahabharata in their painting. So that's why this painting is more beautiful. And then painting and illustration, the costumes, backgrounds and characters in the painting of Allah Baksh of flora and fauna and magical. And here you can see that these miniatures are verbal and visual imagination of poet and painter, because at that time photography was not present. So whatever the paintings we got to know, maybe it's the observation and what you can say the experience of particular painter, and they used to design like that. And then Mewari style miniature painting, because Mewar painting Indian miniature in the 17th and 18th century, and it has been patronized by the local rulers of Rajasthan. So Mewari style painting is very much famous. And who is the, what you can say, pioneer and who got this painting famous? So it is the Allah Baksh. Then coming to the next one is about Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj Wagh Nail. And why this particular Wagh Nail into the discussion? Because this particular Wagh Nak is into the Albert Museum of London, and they had signed a memorandum of understanding that they will exchange, and the London Museum will return this particular Wagh Nak, but not for the permanent. It is for just few months. So the MOU has been signed between these two countries. And then Wagh Nak literally means tiger's claw. So here you can see that it is a tiger's claw. There are sharp claws of this particular thing. So when you see the picture, you will have a visual representation of particular things. So I think you will not forget that what is Wagh Nak. And then we'll have more features about the Wagh Nak, that this is a deadly weapon and it is always used as a self-protection weapon. So this is Wagh Nak, and the blades are very sharp, and it is used by Chhatrapati Shivaji in the Konkan region of Bijapur. So many senapatis and so many soldiers used to carry these kind of things. So that's why it is very much famous, and currently it is in the Albert Museum of London. So they have decided that for few months they will take it and display into their museum. Then we have another one, which is Toto language. So Toto language is the language of marginalized community of Bengal, and Toto is a tribe in Bengal. And why this particular thing is into discussion? Because only 1600 people are left who are speaking the Toto language. So the government of India has decided that they will launch a dictionary, which will be a triangular dictionary, and it will be from Toto to Bengali and Bengali to the English. So this is the initiative taken by in order to preserve the Toto language, and it is a Sino-Tibetan language spoken by the individuals of the Toto tribe. So these are the script of the Toto language. Then we come to the that UNESCO has categorized this particular Toto language under the critically endangered, because only 1600 people are left to speak this kind of the language. And who has designed the script of this particular Toto language? So Padma Shri awardee Dhani Ram Toto, a prominent member of the Toto community, has designed this script. But what we have seen that most of the script they use of the Bengali. So in order to develop this script, in order to develop this language, the government of India is taking the initiative. And Toto community is a primitive community, and whose number from the last counting is just 2000. So they are most marginalized community numerically also and economically also. So these are the pictures of the Toto community. Kindly see the picture of the Toto community. Then we come to the next one. Next one is about Dhordo village, best tourism village. So there is an organization, United Nations World Tourism Organization, and this United Nations World Tourism Organization has listed Dhordo village of Kutch district of Gujarat as the best village and gained the world's best tourist village. It is not India's best tourist village, it has got the name and categorized under world best tourist village. And here you can see the picture of this particular Dhordo village and where it is located. So it is located in the Kutch district of Gujarat, and it is famous for hosting annual Ran Utsav. So different kind of Ran Utsav were there, and so many people go to participate in a Mela kind of situation. And also along with many other villages around the world have achieved UNWTO recognition. So this is not just from India, there are other villages who are listed under UNWTO, but villages from the other parts also listed under this thing, and Dhordo village has topped this list. So that's why this is very much important. And then what is United Nations WTO about? So they preserve the sustainable culture and sustainable way of living. So that's why in order to promote the tourism for sustainable development, these categories are based on. And what are the major areas? There are the 9 major areas under UNWTO look for, and how to give ranking to the villages. So what are the areas? The cultural, natural resources, promotion and conservation, cultural resources, economic, social and environmental sustainability for the tourist development. So these are the 9 themes which has been considered by UNWTO in order to mark and in order to categorize any villages as the best village of the world. So come to the next point. Next point is about Odhuar in Tamil Nadu. So recently the Tamil Nadu government has ordered to appoint 15 Odhuar, including 5 women, who have been specially appointed to worship the deities by singing hymns. So what is the work and job of Odhuars? So they sing songs for the goddess and goddesses, and also earlier time and also for the kings, and mostly in a praising manner. So they praise the gods and goddesses. So the Tamil Nadu government has decided that the 15 Odhuars will be appointed so that they can sing to the temples, and among 15 Odhuars, 5 women would be must. And Odhuars sing hymns in Hindu temples in Tamil Nadu, but they are not the priest. So here there is a difference, because most of the time what we have seen that priest also sings different kind of bhajans and different kinds of shloka, but Odhuars are not the priest. They are the specialized for singing in the temples, and they have different job. They cannot conduct any kind of puja and any kind of the rituals, and generally they follow the Shaiva traditions of Tamil Nadu, who worship the Shiv, and they also praises the songs, and they also sing the songs of the Thirumurai, and Thirumurai is a saint of the Shaiva tradition. So they are famous for the devotional hymns, and they are not allowed to sing in the other language, sing to the other temples and other thing also. And the beginning of Odhuar tradition. So when this particular Odhuar tradition has begun, so there is a no correct evidence that from this point of view, and from this point onwards, the Odhuar started thinking and started singing these kind of things. But the sources and local people say that this particular tradition was also present in the time of Bhakti and Sufi tradition, and also there is no particular, so people assume that this particular tradition is famous from the ancient times. And there is also 2 kinds of saints. I already have told about that, Alwar and Nanar, and Alwar worship is Vishnu, and Nanar worships Shiv. So Odhuars are the custodian of this rich musical and devotional heritage. So their main job is to protect the musical and cultural heritage of the particular temple culture which is present in Tamil Nadu, but they are very different from the priest. So this is the brief about Odhuar. Then coming to the next one is about Gemstone of Puri Jagannath Temple. So in the beginning of the lecture we had discussed about the Konark Sun Temple. So here we are going to discuss the Gemstone of Puri Jagannath Temple, and we often heard in the news that people wants to know that why 2 jewel rooms of Jagannath temple has been closed. So they are asking that they should open the lock of that dome, and people should know about that, what kind of jewelry and what kind of things that has been preserved in the temples, because most of the devotees go to the temple and they donate different kind of jewels, different kind of gems. So this has been prescribed to the temple authority that they must open the 2 gem houses which is located inside the temple. One, the outer one sometimes occasionally opened, but the inner one has been not opened. So that's why they wanted. And we'll know brief about this Jagannath temple. So it is built in the 12th century. The gem store of this temple is contains precious jewelry. So when it has been built, so it has been built in the 12th century. And here you can see the picture of the Jagannath temple, and this particular temple is dedicated to the 3 deities. The first is the Jagannath, the second is the brother of Jagannath, who is Balbhadra, and their sister Shubhadra. So here, and we can also see that Jagannath Puri Yatra, so many worshippers used to carry the different kind of threads, and they participate in the Rath Yatra. So this is a very biggest festival of the Odisha, and it is not just popular in Odisha, now it is getting the world popularity also. So this temple conservation work has been designated to Archaeological Survey of India, and they had demanded the repair of the storage houses. So people are asking that the gemstones and the gem houses which are closed, they must be opened so that they can repair, and due to not opening, so many jewelries could be harmed also. So in order to protect the jewels, in order to protect the wealth of this particular temple, the locks of those jewel houses must be opened. So this is brief about that. Then we have this brief about Jagannath temple. Jagannath temple is a grand temple located in Puri, Odisha. We already have discussed about this thing, and this is a built in 12th century by famous king Anand Varman Chodganga Dev. So here you must know about that who has this built particular temple. So he is Anand Varman Chodganga Dev, and he belongs to the Ganga dynasty. And this particular temple is also called as White Pagoda because we already had discussed about the Black Pagoda, and it is one of the 4 pilgrimage sites for the Hindus, and Hindu devotees always go because this is a part of Char Dham thing, and also it has a inspired from the Kalinga architecture. So this is about today's session, and we had discussed few temple architecture. In the comment section, you have to name a temple which is built in the Nagra style. So this would be your comment section question. Kindly answer in the comment section. I hope you like this session. If you have any query to the session, kindly ask in the comment section. Thank you, and keep studying for your examination. All the best.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.